Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, Head Currency Analyst. In this video we're going to take a look at the Forex market wrap. We're going to highlight some things that have happened in the market this week, and I really want to talk about basically what happened over this week, especially today. So we've seen some huge changes or huge disappointments, I suppose, to the US dollar. Now the dollar, or the bank of the central bank, the Federal Reserve in America, they basically were very dovish in their recent tones, and what they were saying is they wanted to see inflation above 2%, and they were really looking at the labour market to be able to sort of judge if they were anywhere near sort of those targets and anywhere near the opportunity to look at even considering hiking interest rates. Now, we've spoken a little bit about, usually for the month of May, seasonally, the dollar does perform well, but we needed the technicals to really line up with that in order to get involved with the market. Now, in some markets they were there, some markets they weren't. So we talked about dollar CAD moving lower, which moved quite nicely. We talked about dollar Swiss moving lower, which has moved again quite aggressively lower. The only ones that didn't work out really, apart from sort of earlier in the week, were Euro US dollar and Pound US dollar, which I'll go over in a second. But really what we've seen is some shocking numbers out of the US today. We saw a boost in average hourly earnings, which is really interesting to see. We saw a drop in jobs from 770,000 to 266,000, and they were expecting a big number, 990,000. That didn't work out. And the unemployment rate has increased from 6% to 6.1%, which is never a good sign. So basically pointing towards negatives for the US dollar, even though they still created 266,000 jobs that were better quality because of the average hourly earnings moving higher. We saw that the fact that the unemployment rate has increased and the jobs that they were expecting to be have created, they hadn't. What also was interesting this week, we had some pound monetary reports as well. What was interesting is the vote. Now, the vote is usually basically to say if they think that they should hike or not, and one Bank of England member talked about hiking interest rates. That has given the pound a little bit of a boost as well, so that is also an interesting watch. We also had some positive data out of the New Zealand dollar this week. Employment change there was better, and the unemployment rate has fallen in New Zealand, so that is another good sign for the Kiwi, which we were expecting a little bit of weakness to come through, but it just keeps on marching on, keeps staying strong. So if I just jump into the charts now and just go through kind of what we talked about, and then another chart of interest. So I'm going to start off with dollar CAD. We talked about the potential downside to come into this market. We talked about the fact that price was in and around this area, and we wanted to see one or two things happen. We wanted to see either the market come up into this area here, the previous structure areas, and find some resistance and move to the downside, or because of the retail sentiment as well as the sentiment on the dollar, we were expecting a bit of a breakout to the downside, which has played out quite nicely. If you did look for that dollar CAD break to the downside, which is something that was quite a good opportunity to watch this week, due to the fact that the Canadian dollar has been so strong. The US dovishness has really helped boost this market to the downside, and that is quite interesting to see there. Moving on to Euro then. So we actually pointed out a couple of levels on Euro this week that were of interest. The first one was up here at it was around about 121.17, and the second one was down in here, and that was around about 121.09, I believe it was, or 1.2069, I should say, actually. And these actually did act as resistance levels. Well, the first one did anyway. The second one, not so much, because we've had NFP data, which has just basically blown price through, which you have to ignore these levels when it comes to NFP. If it had come to this point before NFP, we might have seen a reaction, but the NFP numbers is just going to completely roll things over for us. So nothing really here for us to kind of jump into. But earlier in the week when we talked about this potential reaction from here was a good level to look to get short on, because it was the most traded level within this previous cluster there. So if you did get short on there, then that was a nice little move down earlier in the week. Would have caught some pips on that one especially. Moving on to pound, so pound has been quite bullish. We talked about the potential for the market to find some resistance back up at this area here, around about 139.44. The price just didn't get back here fully, and when price kind of misses it slightly, it could have been that sort of last absorption from this sort of cluster in here. So that to me would have been a sort of a no-go anyway to get involved with this market. Plus the pound news created this move in here, which again, I don't really want to trade around the news. We as retail traders are not going to get the information as quickly as institutions and banks, and plus they are probably already positioned in advance anyway to this news. So there's no point trading around the news. But again, nice little sort of reversal going on here on the pound at the moment, and price is heading back to 1.4, which is a level that we've spoken about for some time now. Now, if the dollar is going to decrease in strength still, then we may see the price break out of this 1.4 level and head higher, maybe towards this sort of supply zone up here around about 1.41. So that's one to potentially look at in the Forex market outlook this week. And finally, I'm going to finish on Aussie US dollar, because we didn't really feature Aussie US dollar this week. It was one for us that wasn't really doing much at the time because we didn't create any new higher highs, but that's changed today with that dollar weak news or that dollar bearish news. We've seen price break to the upside, and if price does remain up here, if price does pull back, we could see another rally up into the supply zone up here around about 0.7910. So this, we'll keep an eye on this one as well, and this could be a good opportunity going into next week. Thanks for watching the videos this week, and I'll speak to you soon.